What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. The first hour, I was going through my fantasy football rankings, the second year of fantasy football primer talk on the Thomas Take, whatever you want to call it. I call it the fantasy football primer, but I went through each position, ranking my numbers 1 through 10, and some sleepers, some people that I think could crack into the top 10 come season's end, at the end of the 2017 season. But I came up with an interesting idea, and it's something that I haven't done thus far, but there's always been one show that I've really enjoyed watching in terms of boxing coverage. There's always one network that I really enjoy, and that's HBO. They do a fantastic job of chronicling the training camps between two fighters, and it all started really with Floyd Mayweather being one of the key pieces of that 24/7 team, where the people would follow him around with cameras, and he would act flamboyant, he would train, he would show why he was the best, and talk smack, and do what he did. But they basically have spawned it with other matchups, with De La Hoya and Pacquiao, with Mosley and Mayweather, with Mayweather and Pacquiao. There's been a lot of matchups over the years in boxing that have been chronicled in HBO's 24/7, where we got to see the journey of two fighters before they meet inside the ring. And the UFC does a great job with their show, The Countdown. They do an awesome job, and I've always been a big fan of shows like that, kind of the documentaries of combat sports, whether it's boxing or mixed martial arts. And one of my favorite shows, the show that I think started it, in my eyes, is 24/7. And 24/7 kicked off the next edition of 24/7 on HBO with a middleweight title matchup in boxing that takes place September 16th, where Canelo Alvarez will face Gennady Golovkin, a super fight that has been in the making for about 2-3 years now. That's finally, it's been in the making, I would say, for about 5 years, but really the chatter started the last 3 years, and here we are. September 16th is only a couple weeks away, and we are, getting the pre-fight build-up to this fight, and I'm very excited for it because these are two fighters, two boxers that I think are at the top of the game. They're the two best fighting each other. 1A, 1B, Triple G, or Canelo, however you want to see it. These are the two best boxers, pound for pound, in the world going up against each other. This is the Mayweather-Pacquiao of the middleweight division. And I hope, for the love of boxing, I hope that this fight delivers in comparison to Mayweather and Pacquiao. I hope that it's a barn burner. I hope it's a storied middleweight title fight, much like the title fights of years past with Sugar Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran, and Sugar Ray Leonard and Hearns and Hagler, and just all these fights that took place over the years, whether they're at middleweight or not. I just hope it's one of those fights. I hope it's considered one of the most memorable boxing fights. And I'm here to say that, on paper, I think that this is the best matchup boxing has had in terms of name value. I think it's better than Mayweather and Pacquiao. And the reason why I say that is because the Mayweather and Pacquiao fight happened about 8 years too late. It was talked about in 2008, 2009, didn't happen until 2015, so 6, 7, 8 years late. And realistically, I thought that it should have happened a lot sooner. It didn't. It was Floyd Mayweather's 48th fight. He just wrapped up his 50th, so that just shows you something right there. It was at the end of Mayweather's career. It was at the end of Manny Pacquiao's career. I don't see Manny fighting for much longer. And this fight is a fight that it's happening at the perfect time. Although Gennady Golovkin is 35, which is remarkable because the way he fights, the way he looks, he doesn't look like a 35-year-old boxer. Usually 35-year-old boxers, you can see their age. Gennady Golovkin looks like he's 25 years old. And Canelo Alvarez is a young fighter. Both of these guys have wanted to fight each other for quite some time. They came up through the ranks together, so there's a little bit of a friendship storyline there. And Canelo, 49-1-0, his one lone loss was to Floyd Mayweather a few years back, where people like me, they call them the nitpickers. I don't mean to nitpick, but facts are facts. The Canelo Alvarez now and the Canelo Alvarez then are two different people. Canelo Alvarez is in his prime right now. I think he was a phenom then that was kind of force-fed to Floyd Mayweather before he reached his peak, or before Floyd Mayweather was out of his prime, and before Canelo reached his prime. I really see that fight that way. It was a fight in which Canelo wasn't at his prime yet, and it was a fight where Floyd wasn't out of his prime. So, right now, if Canelo were to fight Floyd Mayweather, he'd probably knock him out inside 4 or 5 rounds. I really believe that. If Triple G were to fight Floyd, it'd probably take him a round or 2. That's how I see it. And before I don't want to really get into my pick'em of the fight, but I want to just talk about this show specifically. So the show basically starts out where it shows both Canelo and Triple G on opposite ends of the world. Triple G is from Kazakhstan. Canelo Alvarez is from humble beginnings in Mexico. And Canelo Alvarez's brother was a boxer and showed how he would train his brother in the street. So both of these guys come from real humble backgrounds. Gennady Golovkin was training boxing since he was a youngster, but trained in a tiny, tiny room with Kazakhstan's lead boxing coach for the Olympics, and he kind of groomed him into what he is today. So it was very interesting to hear how this fight's going to go, and it was, hear how these fighters came up. And one fact that really interested me was the fact that Gennady Golovkin's first fight in the United States was only 5 years ago. So this guy is a late bloomer. He's 35, fighting the biggest fight of his career. And I don't think that will really hurt him. I really feel as if he's a destroyer. He's 37-0 with 33 knockouts, the highest knockout percentage in middleweight boxing history. So that tells you right there that this guy is one of the all-time greats. Canelo Alvarez is one of the all-time greats. I think he'll be seen as such. And realistically, this fight with Canelo and Triple G, promoted by Golden Boy Promotions, which is run by Oscar De La Hoya, Bernard Hopkins, Shane Mosley is involved in it. I'm excited for the future of this promotion inside of boxing. I think this promotion has legs. I think this promotion realizes what fights need to be made and when they need to be made, rather than the sake of business, the quote-unquote Mayweather effect. Mayweather not always choosing who the fans wanted to see him fight. He kind of chose his opponents for what made the best business sense for him. So I'm very excited for this fight. If you guys have not watched Canelo versus Triple G on 24/7 on HBO, you definitely should. I think it'll be a really good fight, and a fight to remember for many, many years. And this is a fight that needed to happen. It is happening, and I expect fireworks. Episode 2 airs September 9th. I'll watch that, tune into it, recap it live on the Thomas Take Sports podcast. Thank you all for tuning in to today's Fantasy Football Primer. Thank you for tuning in to my recap of Canelo versus Triple G, HBO's 24/7 Episode 1. I'm Ryan Thomas. That was the Thomas Take. Take care, everybody.